Yo, listen, you hear that? Killers in the jungle.
She had the temerity to come to London. Marcell Hughe has absolutely broken the field. Only Kipchoge has run quicker than this man.
Welcome back to Southend Athletics, and in this video we will be watching the London Marathon. Not all 2 hours of the London Marathon, because I dare say you've got something better to do. But in future, if you'd like us to do a live stream of these kind of things, let us know down in the comments.
It's finally time for the 2023 London Marathon. On the men's side, there were various athletes to keep our eyes on, including 4 of the 5 fastest marathon runners of all time. There was also the 2022 World Champion Tamarat Tola, the 2-time New York City Marathon Champion Jeffrey Camworro, and there's also the athlete who many consider to be the greatest distance runner of all time, currently the 2nd fastest athlete in marathon history, and it's Kenenisa Bekele from Ethiopia, Kelvin Kiptum in last year's Valencia Marathon, where he closed the final half marathon in this race in 1 hour and 15 seconds. A few more key athletes to mention include Farah from Great Britain and Brett Robinson of Australia. With all these athletes running together, this field was arguably the fastest and deepest marathon field ever assembled.
Stacked elite women's race with the men and masses,
gathering one of the deepest fields in history, including a total of 11 athletes who've broken 2 hours and 20 minutes.
To the 2023 TCS London Marathon, one of the great days in the British sporting calendar. A record 47,000 runners will pound the streets of London.
That it is actually one of the greater days in the sporting calendar, for the Brits anyway. And one of the reasons being for this is it's not necessarily in terms of it being a big day, big sporting event, but being a big participation event. The marathon generally gets tons of people out, and it gets them actively engaging in track and field athletics. And with these big mass participation events, people may not necessarily see themselves as an athlete, but they will want to partake in athletics. Okay, so they might not necessarily watch athletics, but they'll do this particular thing because they like running. They like going to park runs, for instance. What as track and field athletics needs to do, from my perspective, is to harness that popularity, engage more in track and field athletics, and improve the sport. We don't want it just to be a mass, you just don't want it to be one of those popular participation sports like basketball is in the UK. The London Marathon is a pretty prestigious event, and it's something that people want to participate in. There is a long waiting list, not everyone gets in, it's done by a draw. So here we go with the wheelchair guys.
The favourite in the wheelchair race for the men is Marcell Hughe in a league of his own. Other people to note is the werewolf himself, David Weir. The women's race is far more competitive, with 3 main runners, that being De Bruyne, Cher and Brazil's De Rosario.
Quite a big field actually, it's really good.
So the women's elite runners in 2023 get underway.
So here we actually finally go with the women's race. Really competitive field. I can't see Sifan Hassan actually winning it at all.
2 hours later.
She had the temerity to come to London. He's been brilliant. Sifan Hassan is the champion.
Meanwhile,
She's probably outlier. One of the Kenyans will probably win it. There's going to be a tough race between them, especially as one of them was nearing the world record pace.
In their quest to become the London Marathon champion, the greatest women's field ever assembled on their way.
It literally is the greatest women's field ever assembled. I agree with you on that one.
Well, he needs no introduction really, does he? Farah on the line for the last time here in London.
We are with Farah. Really hasn't pushed it on in the marathons. He is one of the best athletes though. Kipchoge, it'd be nice to have got him to race this. However, he's just starting today. It'd be nice if they got the money out and see him against the new guy Kiptum and see what they can get up to.
Away we go. It's April. It's London. And the marathon is back where it belongs.
What the London Marathon guys have done is actually really impressive. They've got a really good field. They've actually changed it from the autumn time to the springtime, which has been slightly problematic in certain respects. What they found out is that you actually perform better in October, November if you are a marathon runner and you have prepared for this in your training. Historically, marathons were always done in the summer, spring, summer season, just like the rest of athletics. But the temperatures aren't necessarily productive for a good performance in those times of the year. And the reason being is because of the temperature. Marathon runners need around about 9 to 10 degrees Celsius to be able to perform at their best. In the Northern Hemisphere, you're unlikely to see that around about that time of year.
The women's one might be a little bit harder to call, but Manuela Schär certainly would be the figure to beat.
The women's race is much harder to call than the men's.
It's really competitive at the moment in the wheelchair field, so
We're hoping for a race which will, we hope, produce a fast time, but
it so will produce a fast time.
let's just hope it's a great race. When you get so many names together, that's what you want. You want them all to run well.
Okay, if you notice here, some of the athletes are deciding which line to take when running. And that's really how they're going to attack the first bend when they sit. In reality, does it really matter too much at the beginning? Probably not, but it will affect your stride, your pattern, your breathing. Generally, at the start of a endurance race, you're built up, you're nervous. You go off and the body's like, whoa, what's hit me here? And everything rushes up higher. Eventually, what happens is you get more in a rhythm and the breathing gets a little bit easier and you go into the rhythm of your running. Sometimes what we do see actually is the first mile or so being generally one of the fastest up until the end of the race.
We'd love to see them all in contention as we head into the final mile.
I'd love to line up in 2003 shape, but today in something like this, just to get amongst it and get racy, and that's why I think it's a fascinating lineup today. I'm really looking forward to seeing how it plays out. You can already see the women as they ran off the start line there, just eyeing each other up, looking at the shape they're in.
Competitor in Paula Radcliffe's definitely still like, whoa, look at those houses, jeez, they're huge.
Goes through the mind of Sifan Hassan, lining up alongside these women who, as our main rivals, are largely proven at the marathon, even though they may have only run one. She can't run it the normal way, can she? Her tactics have to change, and I think that's what I'm excited to see how she races it.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree with that. Because she's not a marathon runner, so she can't expect to compete with these marathon runners.
Not a significant gap yet, but it may prove to be so. Marcell Hughe really is putting in a drive.
Okay, so what you see there, they're drafting in behind one another. So one athlete, two athletes, three athletes. When you're going with the wheelchair guys, what happens is their pace is a little bit quicker than the runners. And what they can do is they draft in behind and you get the clean air in and around. And effectively that group of three is moving faster together, being more efficient when they do move, meaning that they will go faster overall, using less energy.
And then I was a little surprised when we turned up and she was here on the start line, because we know she's had injury problems. So it's really sad for Bridget Kosgei, the last year or so not going so well for her, but she might as well turn around and go back to the start line, I think, because she could be standing there a while.
Yeah, that's it. The shoes are coming off. That's her race over with. That's a shame, really. She was in good form coming into this, and she is the name. She is the world record holder at this event. Okay, so it's nice to see the pacemakers going in. They're working together. Group of pacemakers at the front in a nice triangle, getting all that clean air around those athletes behind them. I'm not quite sure what the pacemakers behind have done, but they've got a job and they come in behind. I've seen one of the pacemakers at the back to try and close in that air gap to give it a much more efficient way of more efficient for that small group of British athletes to be able to run their fastest times. It would be nice to potentially at some point for those athletes to that other pacemaker to come forward. What I have noticed, however, her stride pattern's very short, which is worrying really. I love these new shirts. They're so traditional. It's like a traditional track and field vest.
Marcell Hughe has absolutely broken the field in the men's wheelchair race, and they get back to Daniel Romanchuk.
So Hughes lost the rest of the pack and he's able to push on. He's just gliding at this point, saving a bit of energy.
The women's race is rather more interesting because you have Scaroni in there, you have Madison de
And there's Catherine de Brunner and Manuela Shah in the pack as well. So they went through 10k in just over 25 minutes. That gives them a predicted finishing time at the moment, 1:31.
You see them all in the long line, trying to get a much more efficient pattern. Notice how they move their hands and arms. Those guys are being a bit more relaxed. But generally, when you are doing wheelchair racing, your hands will move down in a certain pattern, and we'll explain that nearer to the end of the race. So what you get with marathons, a lot of mass starts, and it's about trying to get your position if you can in that group. It's tight, it might be hard to run at the beginning because there's so many people in the way, but eventually you will make it through. The more elite guys, they don't have a problem with that because they push to the front to make sure they get into their good positioning. Here we are with all the track athletes.
It's Mo's last race, but he's not hanging around. He's I guess setting off at a pace which a few raised eyebrows.
That's good. So he had his hand down like so, almost like a relay baton exchange. And the good reason being for that, he's obviously signalling something to the athlete behind him.
And he feels he's in good shape and he wants to give himself the chance to have one last hard run out there on these streets.
Okay, so he's told the athlete to move to that side, don't get too ahead of me. Brilliant pacemaking, good indication to the guy behind. You can tell the temperature and the rain by simply what these guys are wearing. They've got their hats on to keep their bald heads from becoming cold.
It's no different to
like
anyone
a
else
goodbye
who's
tour
grown
from
up,
Farah.
racing the mini marathon
It's a
on
shame,
these
he's
streets
given
and
us
then
so much in the
graduating
sport.
to the longer race, and he feels he's in good shape and he wants to give himself the chance to have one last hard run out there on these streets of London.
So let's take you to the front of the men's wheelchair race, and the front is very much Marcell Hughe.
Yeah, let's look at Hughe's times here. He's consistently got a little bit fast. What we see with Hughe is that his repetitions here are consistently getting a little bit faster maybe, whereas the people behind him weren't so consistent. That's why he seems like he's just pouring off ahead, because the others just can't keep with his pace.
He really has been dominating.
Well, worrying signs for Sifan Hassan. She's been holding her left side, has been grimacing. There you can see.
I think, and there we go. Taking the right decision. She stretch it out. She might try and get going again. The
clearly
one
got
thing
an
about
injury here
Sifan
somewhere.
Hassan is
She
she's
stopped
very,
it, yeah.
very good
I think she's
at
gonna.
listening to her body. I think someone will have to, from her team, tell her, okay,
I think she should stop here.
Or
she
she
should
will
just stop
keep
here and just
trying
listen to
all
her
the
body
time that
quite
it's not
rightly.
something really serious.
Yeah, so she can run this race, injure herself, not do well. Because remember, she's not a marathon runner. She's not expected to win. She's unlikely to win. This is just training to her.
Well, we'll keep an eye on Sifan Hassan and the women's lead. Meanwhile, back with the men, they're going at a pretty good lick here. The rain's starting to get a little heavier.
The men's pace is pretty good for half an hour at this point.
Perhaps turn from a drizzle to more consistent rain. Just give himself a bit of room as they come round Cutty Sark. Big crowds here as ever. Maybe the rain might put a few off, but thankfully they are here in the numbers we normally expect.
So generally the weather conditions at the moment are pretty good. Rain, however, does slow them down slightly. What the wheelchair boys and girls have got to worry about is that they don't lose grip on their tyres.
To them all to take the cheers, and Marcell Hughe. We talk a great deal about David Weir on these shows.
Fantastic performance.
And his pedigree as a marathon racer, 8 times a winner here, but Marcell Hughe is well on course to becoming the greatest of all time. He takes the tape again in the London
Marathon. Performance, consistent
victory,
all the way through. Deserved to win
David
this.
Weir. He didn't expect that, and we didn't either, but he takes the applause. David Weir, the champion here, and for so long in this women's race now, it's a stately pace, just waiting for the burst.
I kind of keep waiting, sort of willing it on, but no one is prepared to quite make that move. Maybe until we come.
So no one's made the move yet, but Rosario's in the lead. The rest, here we go, here's the kick. So someone's got to follow in behind and draft in behind him to get a position here. The girl on the right hand side can't be locked in. She's left in, she's blocked in, she's not going to get third place if she does that. She's got to get a good position. She's in behind, she's been lost, been dropped behind. Now we've got the final two. Cher is closing a little bit, however Hattie's still in front. Rosario's coming in.
Closing in on her second victory. The tape lifts up.
Here's Yo, she takes the tape.
Cher trying to close, but De Rosario is going to get it. The Australian crossing.
Fantastic finish at the end there. You rarely get to see that at the end of a marathon. Such a close race for the line.
So guys, something that I forgot, so future Adam speaking here, something that I forgot to mention was how the wheelchair guys move their wheelchair. The two different styles. The first style they do is a short technique, generally used amongst a glide, so you push through and you glide forwards, and that's what you do during the bulk of your race. If you're looking to get more power, more speed, then you have a longer push down into the actual wheel itself, and that gives you more power, more speed. You generally do that at the beginning, and you also do it at spurts at the end of the race when you're looking to sprint to the line.
Hassan, this is pretty incredible, to be honest. I mean, we were kind of thinking, and probably she was thinking, my race is over.
They haven't shown the feed stations, which is interesting to watch. They looked a bit clunky, for my opinion, some of these athletes at these feed stations. That's probably why some of them at the back there have been dropped. You can't stop when you're at these feed stations, when you're getting your equipment, your food and your water. However, what is different at the London Marathon is that they don't allow the team, or some of the people as part of teams like NM Running, to have their own water boys there. And these water boys, effectively, they can get paid €800. They cycle at every station and they train with the athletes themselves. By doing so, they can get a good changeover, meaning that the exchange for the food and water is a lot quicker.
This is what I love about the marathon. You go through your rough patches and you've got to ride them out sometimes, and she's certainly running a lot more smoothly now. That next athlete in her sight is Ayana, who's just dropped off the back.
Yeah, so if you've got an athlete there in front, you can able to work off them, what Paula Radcliffe said. What some people said for the 400 metres, 400 metre hurdle, slightly different race, I realise it's sprint, is that you got something in your way, so you got something to keep you going around the track, something you keep aiming and getting faster round. If the field is spread out and you're behind, and what injury, whatever, you can chase down that person in front, rather than if there was no one there, you think, oh my god, really, and you end up running slower or dropping out, because of psychologically, mentally, it's tiring. However, if you've got someone to work for and got the determination, you can push on and get them.
That's also giving you a huge psychological impetus as well. I've been through my rough spot. They might be yet to have theirs, or they might be going through it right now, and I will be able to work myself back into the...
With Andy Butchart leading the way for them. Butchart just checking. They have slowed.
Here we go, onto the feed station. Let's have a look.
Outside 2.6 pace, no surprise really. And Andy Butchart's job is to
chained over, threw him off a bit. The other British guy in front of him, far better at the water station. Generally at those feed stations, you want to be as smooth as possible so that you don't ruin the flow of your running.
As they now enter the section where perhaps they'll get a bit of a breeze in their face as well. If
by the river. Wow, look at that rain. Oh, wet feet time.
Sifan Hassan has caught the leaders. After looking as though she was about to drop out before halfway, was having problems with her hip. The car's getting way too close there. Just need to give the athletes room. But Sifan Hassan is now locked on to this lead group. What a performance, Paula.
The 19 miles, so they're actually running this one a lot faster. Yes, they run the last 3 miles a lot faster, but this really pushing on. Can't see, that's amazing what Sifan Hassan is. I can't see her winning it though.
He's gone off at a pace that there were a few raised eyebrows and thinking maybe that's a bit quick for this stage in his career.
You always get those one people at any race who would try and run, keep in time with these athletes. Good going, girls, trying to run that far with them. It's almost like some of them, it's like they haven't never make it as an athlete, so they're going to try as hard as they can against the elite. There wasn't actually a I think it was a half marathon, a marathon in Abu Dhabi, where one guy went super far out in the lead, and they were like, "What are you doing?" Yeah, he got ran down in the end, but he ran a good time though.
I think it's phenomenal. I mean, she is the ultimate racer, and now the longer this goes into the race, the tunnels of darkness that she's come through in this race in terms of that cramp or whatever it was with the hip flexor that was going on, and then working her way back up to this lead group.
Oh, she caught up with the main group. That is fantastic. But does she have the energy to continue? Probably not. She's not a marathon runner. She's 1500 10k runner.
has now triggered another surge from Jepchirchir. Look across to Joala. Come on, we have to work together here. We cannot let her stay in there. We have to
she's going to try. Jepchirchir's going to try and make it a little bit faster to try and run the girl number 80. And Sifan Hassan off the back end of this. Oh, Kiptum's pushed on. The field's spread out. Here we are at the water station. He's not going to take a drink at this. Oh, he is actually. Tell a lie. Had to stutter slightly into that one, but that's okay. He can push off at the end.
And that could be significant.
He went for it. He had his fingers on it, and it just slipped out of his grasp. So that could be significant. He's trying to signal. I don't think anybody's allowed to bring a bottle to him other than...
That could be... Your nutrition is important during the race.
Make a hard surge just before that. Then people have got to make their minds up. Do they sacrifice a drink and try and go with it? Or do they get their drink and then try and gather and work the way back to him?
It's interesting tactics there. But he did stutter slightly to try and get the drink and he missed it. And they have their own drinks as well and food. They don't go for other people's drinks or food. Now, they used to hand it to him back in the day, but they led to a case where Farah got given the wrong bottle and had to run back.
Closer still, that group of 4, and well, we've been talking about throughout the race with Sifan Hassan in it.
Are we going to try and get a new person to win?
This is where she feels most familiar. This is racing a little
she's gone a little bit.
Her mind will be back on the track there, and Jepchirchir just drifting across, but she'll be getting less comfortable with every moment.
Nice changeover. Oh dear.
And I'm not sure that I was just going to say this before they are reminded that their drinks are on the right-hand side of the road.
Yeah, that was naivety, and from someone who's not experienced at doing marathon running. Someone like me, probably I would have done that because I've never done a marathon.
She was well prepared for it, but the others, it took them by surprise a little bit. Look at Sifan going, what's all that about? Do you want a drink?
That's a classic. That is now a psychological battle for sure.
That's quite funny.
Following the line to the finish, it looks like what will be a big finish for Kelvin Kiptum of Kenya, the man who had the fastest ever debut marathon in Valencia in December, the fastest ever second half of a major marathon.
He's one of his first marathons as a senior, and he looks like he's got a promising career. He's definitely in shape for this season, and he's someone who could definitely push Eliud Kipchoge, who's been utterly dominant and had no competition to this date. Here we go. And they push it on. Here we go, down this final sprint. Sifan Hassan in the lead now. Sifan Hassan is the 10-1500 metre rider, so she would have that kick. I'm surprised she's got it at this point here. I'm surprised the guys haven't tried to push her on. This is surprising. Whoa! Ha ha! No way! The longest race she's ever done, correct, yes. The other girls tried to tactically place it and then go for the sprint on the home straight. Turned out that was a big mistake. My word, the range of this woman is absolutely incredible. 800, she runs a 156. She tried to do the treble last year, the 5, the 10k and the 1500 metres. The first time someone's ever tried to do a middle long distance treble. The range of this woman is insane. This is a once-in-a-lifetime athlete. You don't get an athlete who can able to do the whole range of events. Not only that, and I assume she's been doing it, she's also been fasting on Ramadan as well. Eating only at the night time and restricting her liquids. Now, some Muslims don't restrict the liquids because when it comes to water, for instance, it's quite vital you do that because dehydration is a problem, certainly in hot countries. Quite a medical problem. There are some people who, for whatever reason, can't do Ramadan for medical issues, and therefore they have to engage in their faith in a different way, or do a different form sacrifice in another way. Some athletes, not all athletes, but a lot of the athletes have to figure out how they're going to do their Ramadan so that they can be able to perform the best they can but still meet their religious demands and needs. During the Olympic year, some athletes have been known to start their Ramadan in autumn so that they're able to get the best they can do for their sport and then still meet their religious needs.
Weeks ago, I'm hoping to finish the distance, but the distance might just finish me. Well, that wasn't the case. She's finished it in brilliant style. Look at her face. She can hardly believe it together. So Kiptum with a big lead now. Nobody in sight. Kamworo did his best to try and hang on. Wasn't quite able to do that. It's going to be a massive.
Here we go, Kiptum.
It's just starting to slip away in terms of a
Big lead. Here we go, 2:0:27. We are on world record pace here, which is pretty good because the conditions, temperature-wise, is really good. But there's been a lot of rain, and London isn't exactly one of the fastest circuits out there. He's lost a couple of seconds there going the wrong way.
The world record is just going to elude him. But he gave us just a glimmer that it was possible, didn't he?
Yeah, London's one of the slowest. Berlin, Rotterdam, they're generally one of the fastest. That's where you see a lot of the top 10 marathon times happened in Berlin. That's why a lot of them go to Berlin. Here he goes. Here goes Kelvin.
The fastest ever debutant, the fastest ever second half of a race. Well, he's done that and more here in London. He's going to win the London Marathon.
It's a good circuit
to win that. It's a new course record for Kiptum. A new personal best and the second fastest time ever in the history of world marathon.
Fantastic.
Running.
You gave it your all, boy. Well done. You were let down in certain parts of the race, and that probably would have given you a faster time. A few mistakes there, but it is the first race of the season for many of them, so a little bit clunky. Although, as he said, this guy's run 2 marathons already.
Just now looking a little bit tired. 2 hours 5:23 was his best performance again in Valencia. He's going to beat that though here in London.
Well done.
It's good to see.
Well done. It shows what having a good field does. It makes you push on and run faster because you're against faster people.
Oh, in his last ever marathon here in London, poor Mo is having to work hard, and Phil Sessamon is digging deep. This is his best ever marathon, and away he goes. Phil Sessamon, who sometimes trains with Emil Keras, is going to come in to be the second British athlete home, and a wonderful, wonderful run from him. 2:8 for Keras, 2:10 for Phil Sessamon. Congratulations to him. And then here, Farah finishing what will be his last ever marathon. Thanks for everything.
There you go, sprint finish.
Thanks for all you've done. Thanks for being here in London.
Mo Farah finishing. End of an era really, and it's a shame. But he's had such a fantastic career on the track. There will be no one like the Mobot himself. That is the London Marathon. Surprising, fantastic racing, lots of drama thrown in. I'm Adam McCarthy. If you want to check out our athletics pages, please do so. You can also check out the Athletics Club. And well done to the Sifan Hassan of Holland. And if you are one of those 4,000 people from the Netherlands and 500 people from Amsterdam and 200 from Rotterdam, thank you for supporting this channel. Your support means a lot to us and everyone else around the world. I'm Adam McCarthy of SSA Athletics, and I will see you in the next video.